Whether you're hard stuck in the trenches of Iron or finding success in Radiant, everyone can agree that queuing competitive without a pre-made squad is always random. Due to this randomness, most, if not all of you who play Valorant competitively suffer from having to play in constantly changing environments, which often do not suit your playstyle. However, one player has figured out how to overcome the hurdles in Ranked. Although he is mainly known for his unbelievable clutches and gunplay, Cryo possesses an ingenious thought process during his matches, which not only simplifies incredibly complex situations, but ultimately bends the odds in his favor to win. With his brilliant viewpoint on the game as a whole, he is rewarded with unimaginable success. In this video, we will not only analyze how Cryo bends impossible odds in his favor, but also how you can make yourself an unstoppable player in your own matches. It is obvious that Cryo has an extremely high win rate in competitive, boasting nearly an 80% win-loss ratio. However, as Cryo is playing in the same environment as all other players, he did not find his success purely through luck. Speaking of other players, Cryo has mastered the skill of reacting calmly towards external factors, such as underperforming teammates and highly skilled enemies. More often than not, randoms on your team in your ranked matches will underperform, and it will seem impossible to rank up when it feels like everything rests on you. Even though Cryo fully knows that he is a much more skilled player than his teammates in ranked, he does not stress over the performance of his teammates. Instead, Cryo focuses on these three things during his matches, and it makes all of the difference. Plays he can make himself, his enemies' positions, and based off of that, plays that his enemies are most likely to make. These points may seem vague to some, but the thought process is apparent in his gameplay. Nowadays, many players fixate too much on their aim and forget to consider the many factors that come into play during duels. Notice in this clip how Cryo sneaks into the smoke that the attackers threw that allows them to scale up into market and B site. Cryo notices that his Sage gets picked off in market, meaning that the enemy team is already moved up towards the market area. We are about to see how Cryo makes his presence so devastating for his enemies in all of his matches. Cryo decides to walk out of the smoke to flank the attackers. Normally pushing through a smoke alone, especially in such a wide area of the map, would be regarded as risky, but Cryo understands that the attackers are also currently worried about market and the defender spawn for any of his teammates holding the push. This is why when Cryo walks out of the smoke, rather than being faced with an entire team of people, he's only faced with one KO. The enemy KO decides to move back into cover when Cryo peeks, and here is where Cryo's quick thinking comes into play. Cryo realizes that since the KO spotted him and went back into cover, there is a high possibility that he is about to get pop flashed while trying to hold him. Many players would be alarmed by this realization and fall back towards the cover of tree. However, Cryo wants to take advantage of the positions his enemies are currently in. Instead of falling back into tree, he decides to jump into mid cubby and get some cover. Notice his movement as well, as he anticipates the KO flash by turning away while looking into mid cubby. Due to his fast decision to crunch the attackers with his teammates at middle, he picks off the KO for free, as well as the Jet, who is preoccupied with the market area. It is important to note how crucial it was for Cryo to move quickly in this situation. Since the KO spotted him on Cat, he only really gave the attackers a few seconds to react to his flank at middle. After picking off the first two enemies in middle, Cryo has a 1v1 with the Brimstone, who knows his location. We can see Brimstone fires a few shots towards Cryo's position in mid cubby. Brimstone then falls back and slightly repeaks while shooting a few shots towards the position that Cryo was at when he killed his two teammates. Cryo takes a mental note of this and considers the fact that Brimstone still thinks that he's positioned inside of mid cubby from the shots that he fired right around the corner. To simplify the situation, Cryo moves into a wider angle from his previous position. By doing so, he understands that he will catch the Brimstone off guard with his new position, which will give the Brimstone no time to counter-strafe and shoot him. In other words, Brimstone will walk into his crosshair as long as Cryo has good crosshair placement. Sure enough, Brimstone walks into his crosshair and he is rewarded with a round win. Notice how Brimstone also shoots to the right of Cryo, which was his old position before he took the wider angle. As we could see, Cryo masterfully shows his skills of not just aiming, but reading his enemy's movements. Not only does this give Cryo confidence, but ultimately it allows him to reduce randomness in his duels. Here is his explanation to his teammate how he was able to win this 1v3 at middle on Ascent.
Cryo, do you usually hold wide or do you hold like very tight when you're holding someone?
Depends. Like right there, I hold wide because I think he's just gonna wide swing.
Yeah. What about like on all your mid kills? Were you holding like? Did anyone swing you?
Yeah.
All right. Were you holding?
It's kind of like you just kind of have to like read them, you know, like.
Okay, got it.
If you think they're gonna peek, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Reading enemy movements and positioning is just one thing that Cryo does to prevent random factors from affecting his gameplay. The next thing that he focuses on are the plays that he and his teammates can make to throw off his enemies. As mentioned earlier, Cryo will always focus on eliminating as many random factors as possible that will hinder his gameplay. Before we showcase a clip of Cryo making a play, we can see that he is playing Chamber. Chamber is an extremely versatile agent as he can play aggressive but also passive equally as well. In this clip, notice how the enemy team does not have any agents who can cover flanks. On Bind, map control is something that strongly determines the outcome of the round. Cryo understands this and takes advantage of the situation. Especially since it's pistol round, Cryo knows that he can get away with a lurk without having to worry about any flank traps. If they happen to push him A, he has a teleport ready to escape the situation and play back with his team to hold for the push. Again, Cryo takes into account all of the potential factors in the round and plays to take advantage of the situations where he can pose a grave threat to his enemies. Sure enough, Cryo catches an opponent off guard. Small plays like this make a huge difference throughout the match. Speaking of small plays and map control on Bind, later in this match we can see how Cryo consistently uses his utility in a very specific way. As usual, Cryo fights for map control and has a teleport ready in case he gets overwhelmed. However, he goes a step further and places an alarm bot deep in showers, as we can see here. Since there was currently no enemies that he saw in showers, his alarm bot can hold that side of the map for information while the rest of his team can focus on the other parts of the map. This is only one example of Cryo taking advantage of the opportunities to help his team be more successful. Many chambers will just often place their traps during the buy phase and forget about them. Although there are many situations in which this is useful, Cryo changes his own playstyle depending on the plays that his enemies are making in the map. By placing his trip just a little bit deeper, he knows that he can make more accurate decisions about where the enemies are going to be, because if they haven't pressured showers at all yet, they're probably not showers. Again, consistently adapting to the situation is what Cryo has mastered. Let's take a look at one more round from Cryo, limiting the amount of risks in his matches. Here we can see how the enemies full rush onto C site and he is forced to play retake with his team. Most players in this situation will be focused only on C site and hold for anyone pushing from that site while waiting for a retake with their team. However, Cryo decides to peek mid even with the information that the enemies pushed up onto C site. The reason that he checks mid is to anticipate anybody lurking to get a timing on the defenders who are focused on retaking C site. Additionally, it's worth noting that Cryo has a teleport setup which can safely get him out of a situation where an enemy at mid catches Cryo off guard while he is peeking mid. Finally, he communicates with his team that there are no lurkers to assure that the only area they have to worry about is towards the C site and long. Cryo fills the gap in the situations where his team is about to make a play or in the process of making a play, eliminating that room for error and giving his team a higher chance of winning rounds. Bottom line, ranked is random. There will constantly be different circumstances and scenarios where you can make a difference in the short or long term for the round. However, by focusing on being consistent on certain things, such as constantly focusing on patching out the weak spots of your team or taking advantage of opportunities which heavily hurt your opponents, you can make sure to turn the odds in your favor.
That's all we got for our video today, but remember that if you're really looking to improve at Valorant, I highly recommend checking out SkillCapped.com. We get it, you're just a player trying to get better at the game. That's why you're watching this video in the first place. You're capable of hitting that rank you deserve, but there's no shame in asking for a little help. At SkillCapped.com, we spend hours going through viewer-submitted replays to let you know all the mistakes that you're making. We also couple this with our Smurf commentaries to show players that it is possible to carry themselves out of whatever rank they're stuck in. It might seem hopeless at times, but trust me when I say we can help you out. All you have to do is check out SkillCapped.com. Link in the description below.